Motormouth Jenkins here, welcoming you to our brand new YouTube channel. Hope that you'll come back and see every segment each and every week, and I will share preventative maintenance tips and regularly scheduled maintenance tips for your car. So whether you know a little bit about your car or absolutely nothing, this is the channel just for you, where I share over 35 years of experience as a qualified and licensed service technician with truck and coach, light truck and passenger vehicles. Come back and visit us and tell your friends, and we'll see you each and every week right here in the Car Connection Workshop on YouTube.
Well, welcome aboard to another edition of Car Connection. Your host, Niall Motormouth Jenkins, in the driver's seat. We have a special Jeep TJ Wrangler update for you, where we're at, to keep you in the loop, because we're getting close, real close to putting the engine in and really getting some stuff ready to go. All I'm waiting for now is I got a few things left to do on the motor, and we're going to walk you through one of the last 3 things we need to do, and I'll talk about the other components, which are not a big deal. I want to get this outside, the Jeep outside, and I just want to power wash from, I really want to do a good job cleaning up from about in here all the way forward and in here, and then I'm going to paint it out so it looks really, really good. So I'll have to bag the transmission with a great big industrial garbage bag, because that is all ready. The transmission is ready to accept the clutch. So, but I didn't get time to do this before we had to get it out of the weather last fall and get it inside so I could get going on it, because I had to strip this whole vehicle apart so that we could work on it easily in here. So we're getting real close. It may not look good to you, but I know where I'm at. Once that motor goes in, all this wiring and stuff, power steering and everything, I'll have that done like within hours. And then for me to put the fenders and everything back on, in half a day, I'll have all the fenders back on. So that stuff doesn't concern me. So when I say we're getting really close to making some serious headway on this Jeep project, yeah, it's getting exciting now. Okay, so here's where we're at. We ran into a problem with the front drive shaft, and it was the slip yoke. Ain't no slippy in the slip yoke. It's stuck. And I suspected that when I was looking at it in the Jeep. Said that now would be a good time to take that out while the motor's out and get it out, and let's have a look at, make sure that slip yoke is slipping, and it wasn't. It was seized. So I'm just doing my dishes. Excuse me while I do my dishes. It's a personal thing, you know. So we got the yoke off, and I'm going to say thanks but no thanks to any of the Jeep chat rooms for helping us out with that, because nobody had an answer on how to service the slip yoke on a front drive shaft on a Jeep. Lots of help on, I would just buy a brand new slip yoke eliminator drive shaft at $830 US. And I'm going, Motormouth doesn't do that. No. If we're spending $837 US on a drive shaft when the problem is the slip yoke, I've dealt with slip yokes 4 times the size of this and replaced U-joints and fixed the yoke. I just wanted to know, was there anything special to get the yoke off the shaft? That's all I wanted to know. Well, let me tell you, Jeepsters, I'll bring you into the fold now, because Motormouth and my friend Charlie, we solved the problem. We'd made a jig to get it off of the main shaft. It was seized. I drilled it out here, the cap at the end, so that I could pour in through this end some rust inhibitor, and to the point where I could see the rust inhibitor coming out through the splines here and running down the drive shaft, which gave me 100% hope that the yoke was going to come off, but I didn't need to beat the ever-living tar out of it either. because you never beat a yoke or remove a U-joint by hammering on these eyelets. You do that, it's over, because you distort them. So you don't just get on it with a hammer and go crazy, because then, yeah, you're going to need a drive shaft. And just the same, buying the same drive shaft, you're going to be anywhere from $300 and up to get a replacement. Motormouth doesn't do that. So here's what we did. We used, we'll go over to the vise. So what brought my attention to taking a look at the front drive shaft was this boot was blown open right there. Well, that needs to protect, that protects part of the shaft and make sure that the elements don't get to that area, which I ended up having to clean up really, really well. But I found a factory boot. It should be here today, as a matter of fact, as we're shooting this video. And I decided to replace the U-joint only because it is still very much good, very much good. Two things I don't like about it. It doesn't have a grease fitting. The other thing is, getting it out, I nicked the seal right here. See it? You might get away with it for a while, but what's going to happen is the grease is going to pour out through there, and then you're going to be back in there for $20 for a spicer. This is a spicer. I ordered a spicer, but it has a grease fitting and it's heavy duty for $23. That's where you spend your money. You don't go replacing a whole stinking drive shaft because the yoke is stuck. But I was quite surprised that no one on not just one Jeep chat room, several, not one person could call a spade a spade. Oh, just get another drive shaft. Well, you know, when your name's Rockefeller or Vanderbilt or something, or, you know, some more of those elites that, you know, money's no object. Yeah. Or if you're going to step up to the plate and buy me one, sure. What the heck? No. The whole purpose of being able to take something like this, something like the Firebird, something like Mr. Green Jeans, is spending the money where you need to spend it and make sure the vehicle's safe to stop and steer, and save the buckolas for those things that are not fixable, that you have to replace. So just running out and getting another shaft for me is just not an answer to the question. The question is how, and I asked it every way from Sunday, how to rebuild a slip yoke. Nothing. How to take a slip yoke off a drive shaft on a Jeep. Nothing. So Charlie and I figured it out. So let's go over to the vise. And within about an hour, we got the slip yoke off the main shaft. I got the U-joint out. That was not a big deal. The cardan joint is fine, and the grease fittings are good, and it's not worn out at all. And you can buy this cardan joint actually on the Jungle website for like $43. That blew me away, because I've dealt with these before, because I've owned several Broncos. And I own Broncos that have slip joints, but they have grease fittings. So when I'm done, this slip yoke will have, I will, not on the side where the weights are, opposite side I'll drill it, and I will put a grease fitting in. But we have the new boot coming, so we got it off. So now what I got to do, because it's tight, is inside here. We'll see if we can get a light on this. I'll be back in a minute. My daughter Francine will play the recorder for you, and I'll be right back. How does that sound? Yeah, let's get a flashlight, because I want you to see this. This is all I have to do now. I've already cleaned this up quite a bit, and some of the nylon is worn, but you know what? It'll be just fine with grease all on it. And this section here needs to stay clean and right and tight, because the boot goes over here and it goes over here. So it goes here and it goes here and it clamps. So it's a clamp, goes here and a clamp goes here. Something like that. So inside here, see if we can, there we go. We can get a good visual. You'll see it's pretty rusted in there on the teeth. So these are the splines here. You see these, the crest, the valley, the crest, the valley, those are teeth. So if you look in there, they're rusted. So it was stuck about midway on the shaft, right where I'm pointing with my middle finger, my number one finger. You're number one! Yeah. Today, it could be you. So it was stuck in this section. So Charlie came up with an idea, and I soaked it for about a week, sitting in the vise just like this, exactly like this, with a drain pan underneath. And of course the yoke was on there, and I filled this up with penetrating oil. Now this was all the way down to here, like it was all the way on there. So as I let it sit in the vertical position full of penetrating fluid, not the stuff in the blue can. You need something stronger than that. So when all is said and done, I will cap this and seal it. That's fine. That'll be just fine. And so when we're done and I clean those teeth out, and I'll show you what I use for that. It's a specific tool for fixing and correcting splines, anything that's splined. This is called a spline file. These are pretty cool. Like, this is machinist tools here. I borrowed this from Charlie, but my pops probably has them because he was a machinist. So it has a knurl on it so that you can grab it and you can use it. So what I have to do is, let's just come back over, Skippy over here. I got to go down each one of these and just file it clean till it's clean. Just one at a time. See the crud coming out already. Crud. So you just make sure you're filing flat and you've got the grip on the file so that you can hang on to it. It's not sliding out. And just, I got to go down each one of those teeth one at a time and just file it now. I left it in the Varsol over a couple of nights now, a couple of days, just softening up any rust in there so that the file will do its job and just remove what's there. And then what I will do is I will then sing a song of Sixpence or something like that. No, just take your time, file them out, and then you'll see they're getting clean. And just make sure that's going all the way down to the bottom. And then I'll put it back in the Varsol and I'll wash it out and I'll check it. And then what I will do when I'm finished, I just want to clean the tops of the splines. See the tops here? We've got tops in here as well. The tops of the splines are rough as well, so we need to clean those off. So what I will do is I have these bolts that I've made. They're just old head bolts, and then I've cut a groove in them, and what I do is I put a piece of sandpaper in there, and I'll put it in my cordless drill, and I'll just get inside there, and I'll just wheel that up and down so that I'm just cleaning off the tops of the teeth. I'm not being too aggressive, so this will clean up, and then it will slide on here like butter. Now there is a master spline, so for all you Jeepsters out there that couldn't answer a question on the Driveshaft yoke, there is a master spline. There it is, right there. And before you say something else, you didn't mark the yoke. Yes, I did. Right there. Right there. And it's marked right there. So guess what? Those dots go with that mark, and I've also punched that as well, and that will land right there when I'm done. So it will not be out of phase, because if you don't put it back in its right position, there's a really good chance that that drive shaft's going to shake every molar out of your head when you put it in four-wheel drive. So if there are some fillings you really want to get rid of, you could probably do that, save yourself, a little bit of dental work. Then he just has to fill them. I'm just kidding. So that's I'm not taking a shot at anyone. I'm just saying, go the distance. Figure it out. Ask questions. So I called my friend Charlie up. He says, yeah, bring it over to the farm. Let's have a look at that. So what we did was we had a bearing splitter. It's 2 pieces. And Charlie had one that went small enough so that we could put it over the shaft here, and it locked against here, so it couldn't go anywhere. Then Charlie, my friend Charlie, made these while I was there. So what we did was, this was really cool, folks, this was on here like this. I'm teaching you something because you're not going to go and spend $1,000 on a shaft. This took an hour. Drilling this out and putting some lube in there to make sure that the lube so the yoke can tell me we can get lube in there. That means it can come off. So we put the splitter on there. Then we bolted these 2 arms through the splitter. And then we put a 1-inch bolt through here. Let me show you. Because you don't want to be pushing on those ears, guys, because if you do, it's going to be a big sucks to be you, because I couldn't see where we could get this yoke if we need it. This isn't quite a 1-inch bolt. This is a Cat 3406 cylinder head bolt. Yeah, so that's 1 inch exactly, but I'm just showing you how we did this. So we put the splitter around here, which goes on in 2 pieces, and that locked it from going past this thicker portion. So, and it has 2 holes through it. So Charlie built these so they go through the splitter just like that, and then push on this 1-inch bar, and then turn the nuts down below and push up like this. And it pushed this right off in a matter of minutes. This was about 30 minutes of horsing around. We first tried it without putting a gusset on, and then the rods were bending. So Charlie said, I'm going to throw your cordless drill on the floor for you while I weld this. We just make it up. So that's what he did. He just cut a couple of pieces of angle iron just to give some strength, and then when we got back on it, pushing on this, not pushing on the ears for your U-joint so that you wreck this, because once you do that, it's over. That yoke is done, whatever it's on. So, and that pushed it right off like butter. We put a lot of tension on it, and then it went pop really loud, and that was it. Like I said, it was stuck. This area here was rusted pretty good, but the rest of it, the penetrating oil had softened up the rust, so it was only this area here that was stuck, and when it let go, it walked right off of there with this. So that showed this was all made from scrap material Charlie had laying around in a bucket at the shop, and when you got a welder and you put your thoughts together, an hour's worth of time, not $830 plus tax US. This shaft will be just fine. I'm not going rock climbing. I'm not going mud bogging. I want to use this Jeep to haul firewood for us. And if we want to go up north, we can go up north with it and make it a practical vehicle that can be used for just about anything and take care of it. And at the end of this project, I will reveal to you the total cost to save this Jeep from the crusher and make it a reliable piece of equipment. You're going to be shocked in the last episode. You'll be absolutely stunned at what it cost. Just saved $830 US. Just like that. So till next time, which is coming up in about 30 seconds, I got something else to show you on the Jeep. Then we're done with the Jeep today, and I will have this fixed up and we'll show you the finished product as well, because I really feel it's important that you see the finished product so that you know if I can do it, you can do it. All right, cometh over here, Skippy. Come over here. Right here. Oh, look, there's another light. Wow. All right, so just remember, do it right, do it well. When you don't know exactly what's going on, don't lay a whooping on it, because that's costing you money. A lot of money. Okay, so here's where we're at. I'm ready to finish this motor, and the manifold needs to be addressed, and then I want to paint the block. So I've mocked the engine up for now. The intake mounts together with the exhaust manifold, which is here. I managed to salvage out of 2 engines. The engine that came out is where I got the manifold from, the exhaust manifold. The exhaust manifold that was on this engine had a heat shield all around it, like a clamshell. When I took that clamshell off, and it was an aftermarket, this is where I'm going with this. It was an aftermarket exhaust manifold on this engine that I bought. This is a factory manifold from 1997. Factory. The aftermarket manifold I looked at and I'm going, oh great, it's got a replaced manifold. It looks like it's in good shape. So I thought. I took the intake off. I took the manifold off, and it had a great big clamshell around it, which is the heat duct. I cut that off, cut the rivets off. The manifold was broken right in half. And it looked like brand new. So much for the offshore junk. Piece of crud. If you really want it, it's in the scrap bin outside. So this is the original factory exhaust manifold, and it's still got some really good life in it. So we're going to make it go one more round. But here's what you need to know, guys and gals, guys and dolls, fellas, fillettes, hamsters and budgies. Okay, I've got it bolted down. I have not torqued it to spec, and there's a reason behind that. I've snugged it down. And the reason is I need to know for sure the exhaust manifold, which is here and here where it matches to the cylinder head. I need a positive contact. That means, what does that mean? I knew you'd ask, and it's good for you to know. I need to know that right now, if as I have it bolted, there should be no gaps, because the gasket is not going to take up the tolerance. I know. I hear some of you right. Oh, yes, it will, Motormouth. You're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. But only for a little while, because if there's a gap there, and there's a gap there, and there's a gap there, those are the areas that once the heat gets to the gasket, it is going to burn through, and now you got an engine in there with an exhaust manifold leak, and I just stinking hate that to the ends of the earth. So I'm going to teach you something. And again, whatever way you do it that way. But as for me and my house, I've been at this over 40 plus years. Yeah, I'm open-minded to new ways of doing things, but you know what? I stick with what I know that I've done in the field, all over Ontario, working outside in the snow. You do what works and you still do it right. You don't want any exhaust leaks? Here's the deal. Look at this. I got a pretty good gap right there. Look, see? Lousy, not bad. And this is 35 thou. So 35 thou is going to be about half of the thickness of the exhaust gasket going in there. but I got a real nice hole right there. And that, you know what that tells me? Did you want that light? Did you find everything you wanted today in the Car Connection storehouse? No? Did you get a sandwich and a coffee? Okay. Here's the deal. That is the first place this sucker's going to blow out, the exhaust gasket. Right around that bolt. Right around that ear. Look at that. I can put it right through to tomorrow. Hello! It's sticking out the bottom. So number one, that's no good. That means it's not flat. Right here. Look at that. Right there. I got a nice gap-a-rooney. I can slide it back and forth and almost write my name in there. Same with here. There's a nice gap there as well. I've got a towel in there to seal off the intake port, so I don't want any stuff getting into the valves because the head is all done. This engine's ready to fire. So that's number two. Number three, look at the gaps here. Again, guess what? Going to push that gasket right out there, and you're going to have a leaker to deal with right around that ear right away. It's going to take about a month, and then she'll be puffing. So what do? Well, I'll tell you what you got to do. This is where we save $830 and we saved the original drive shaft, which will serve us absolutely like no problems. No problems. Just keep it greased. And like I said, we're not off-roading. We're not climbing rocks and trees and going into the mud bogs. Because you know what? I'll tell you right now, four-wheel drives are your friend until you got to fix them. They'll eat their cash like a snapping turtle. Yeah. So, no. You play hard, you pay hard. And that's what my boss, when I was an apprentice, taught me. He said, if you want to play hard, you're going to pay hard. So here's what I do. I'm going to take this off, and it needs to go on the grinding stone at the machine shop. That doesn't mean we're getting out a grinding disc and you'll never get it flat. It needs to go and be resurfaced so that when I get it back, it will be completely true. And then the other secret is when I put this manifold and this intake manifold on, I will have the gasket all in place, and then I will put this manifold in my kitchen oven at 450 for about a half an hour. And then I will get all my bolts will be all laid out for me on my chuck wagon and 2 oven mitts, and I will place this manifold on this engine while it's at 450 degrees Fahrenheit. I will bolt this manifold down, starting in the middle and working my way outward, torquing the bolts to spec while that exhaust manifold is piping hot. And guess what? You will have success and not be back here visiting this manifold. And that's where I see a lot of problems. That's the first area that lets go on a lot of pre-owned engines, is that you cut corners and thinking the gasket's going to save you. No, it's not. It is going to leak, and it will leak probably within a month. It'll blow out on the corners first, and then you've got to deal with this inside there. No, we're going to deal with it right here, and we're going to do it right. Now, I'm going to talk to you just a little off course, but still exhaust manifolds. Guys, you buy headers. You buy the cheap and nasty headers that have a very thin flange, so they're not this thick. I can tell you right out of the box, they're not flat. And the header gasket is not going to pick up the tolerance. You're going to blow gaskets out over and over and over and over again. And it's the manifolds. So if you're going to buy those cheap manifolds, that are like thinner than the thickness of my pinky, they warp. And they come right out of the box warped. So if that's the budget you have, then what you need to do is get those headers to a machine shop and have them plane those headers before you even consider putting them on. Because you are going to be back in there pulling that header off. And on a lot of these vehicles, I've done headers and I hate them. all day long. A lot of them, they're very tough to get in, and they're even tougher to get out when the engine's still in there. So just a little food for thought. If you're buying headers, and you'll see the next project that we have coming in this summer is our 1978 Ford Bronco. That was the last Bronco I bought. It has nickel-plated headers on with half-inch flanges. And they come out of the box. They are flat as a pancake and as true as a weapon. And not a problem. Those don't need to be machined, and they don't warp. So I highly recommend you don't buy any headers with thin flanges. Half inch, not this, not even that. Half inch, not this, and not even that. You want that. Half inch. You'll be pleased that you did, because you will be chasing exhaust leaks forever, and then you'll end up throwing them in the garbage, because that's where they should go in the first place. The cheap headers are just that. They're cheap and they don't seal. All right, that's all I got for you on this segment for the Jeep. Now we've talked about it and you see where we're at. It's looking like a motor now, and it's very close to being done. I'll take this down to the machine shop this week. Now you've seen it and we've explained what to do and to do it right. Once this is all off, I'll get in here and I'll wire wheel the block both sides. I'll paint the block. Then I'm going to flush the cooling system out on the block. Put the last frost plug in right here. Then I'll install the water pump and thermostat and housing. Then when the manifold's ready, we put it back together. It's going to look like this. It's going to be in ready to install condition, which means it'll be coming off the stand. We'll be mounting the clutch. I've got, again, on these Jeeps, common problem. There's another, see these plugs here? There's two more in the back of the block, and they always leak oil. And this one, as a matter of fact, will prove itself. There's oil there. So they were already leaking. So I have new plugs to go back in there. But obviously, I cannot put them in till it's off the stand. So when it comes off the stand, I'll be replacing those plugs. I'll clean it out back here. Then I'll install the clutch, and you'll get a chance to see how that is done. And then we're ready to put this in. The next step already I talked about is power wash and clean up this whole engine bay area nice and clean. Then I'll rebuild it with some nice black paint, and it'll look super. So till next time, don't forget to like, share, follow, tag, put on deodorant, hit the notification bell so that you don't miss a single segment and video of our Car Connection workshop and what we're working on next. So put the coffee on, keep it under 100, and happy motoring. We're coming to your house.